This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Thursday, December 15th, 2022, and we're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's show, I will speak with Ben Porepp. He is a conservation agronomist with the Iowa Soybean Association. And as always, we will take a look at the ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Jacob Burks of agmarket.net for our closing market recap. Jacob, what did we see in the grain markets today?
You saw a continuation of the mix between corn and wheat versus bean complex, and beans were the negative side today. Corn and wheat was the positive side. Just been a long back and forth here. If you go look at the charts in the corn, we've gotten comfortable around that 650 level in the March contract. We filled the gap in the 638 area, and we have just stayed pretty stagnant. Up 3 cents here today. New crop button up against the $6 level still. $5.99 3/4 we hit today. Couldn't get over the $6 level. End up closing here 2 cents. Are going to close here about 2 cents higher. Wheat market, same structure. We saw some very positive move here early this morning. Backed off most of the day. End up closing 5 to 6 higher in Chicago, and we're going to see Kansas City up about 6 as well. But the beans just never could get a bid really all day. We've been about a dime lower most of the session.
Jacob, we like to ask you this question, every couple of weeks when we have you on, but what should Iowa producers, Iowa farmers really be focusing on right now when they're looking at the daily market information each day? Is it trying to follow what's happening in South America? Do we have enough information there? Is it, just trying to think about what they're going to do for next season? Where are we at right now?
Well, that's a good question. If they get it figured out, we got to see it over here. They can help us out. But the things to focus on right now are first and foremost, what are you doing on your operation? I think if we don't look at that from a perspective of what kind of cost we have going into next year's crop, what kind of interest rates we're going to be paying on that, and what that cash flow is going to do for you right now. Manage your business is the first thing they should be looking at. Now, when we start looking at, hey, where do we want to put targets in? Where we want to put sales in. Look at what the 2023 crop, where it's been. What kind of tools can you put out there to protect yourself from not seeing a collapse in price and having a high cost of production? So if you look at the supply issues that you're looking at right now, what is the South American weather doing? Why does that matter? What is that going to be? What kind of exports are they going to be able to have on their books next year to compete with our exports? Okay, what's the ethanol situation going on right now? Basis out west, we knew went crazy this year. So they've been paying high priced corn for a long time, and then the energy prices fall. So now you're seeing an ethanol plant that's not some of them are getting ready, but down at some very tight levels. So how much are they going to continue to pay up for that? So there's so many things on the table right now for a producer to say, man, this demand side of the picture could weigh into my bottom dollar. That it's worth getting out there and getting some stuff on the books, getting some risk management in place right now.
What was the story on the livestock side of the markets today?
We're very negative, kind of a risk-off day across most of the complex. It is kind of an ugly trade, but the fact of the matter is, we didn't have a whole lot of negativity in the cattle, 50 to 70 cents lower. You look at what's going on out west with the storm coming through, kind of watching that cash market. It's anticipated to see a little bit higher level if these packers have to bid up. But right now, there's a pretty good headbutt as far as what packers are going to be doing with retail prices. They're going to slow their kill down. We know that. The retail prices have been very, very volatile. Like your box beef price. And so it's what they're going to have to do to go out there and buy cattle now. It's really curious to see if they're going to go out there and bid up for that. We all know the story about supply and how that's that's dwindling and how we're going to have some tighter supplies. But when you look at what happened this week in a very volatile stock market, which is a good reflection of what we're seeing from consumer spending. So the consumer price index coming down. So inflation has slowed down. We rallied the stock market. Then all of a sudden you got retail sales and stuff, giving another negative report. And the Fed's going to continue raising interest rates. So we're trying to decrease the supply of money that's out there buying things. That's what we're continuing to try to do. There's a lot of different theories about how that's going to affect a high retail beef standpoint. And I think that's, the demand picture is something that we have to pay attention to. And if that can keep pace with what we're seeing in the lower supply of cattle. But still an optimistic future for the cattle market. But today we had a little bit of a sell-off, probably mainly stimulating from the trade of the Dow.
He is Jacob Burks, agmarket.net, our guest analyst here today, wrapping things up on the closing markets. Jacob, if our viewers want to get in touch for more great market information, how can they do so?
It may be from the hospital bed, but I think I'll make it. Agmarket.net, get a 30-day free trial of our intel. We send out all of our information. You can find us there on the About Us and look us up on our team individually and shoot us an email. We'd love to chat with you.
Today's episode is Jacob's Michael Jordan flu game, and we thank him for joining us here today. Jacob, thanks so much for the time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, I'm glad to be here.
That was Jacob Burks with agmarket.net with our closing market recap. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, and those courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn is up 3 even at 653 1/2. January soybeans down 8 3/4 at 1473 1/2. Soybean meal for March is down $3.60 at 452.60. Soybean oil for March up 14 cents at 62.98. Chicago wheat up 7 1/4 at 766 even. Minneapolis wheat down 1 3/4 at 911 1/4. Kansas hard red wheat up 8 1/4 at 852 3/4. May oats unchanged at 340 even. On the Merc, live cattle for February down 85 cents at 154.85. January feeder cattle down 55 cents at 83.05. Lean hogs for February down $1.75 at 81.65. December pork cutout down 48 cents at 87.22. Class 3 milk for December up 3 cents at 20.56. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead now and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I will visit with Ben Porepp for the latest installment of Between the Pods. He is a conservation agronomist with the Iowa Soybean Association.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today, I am speaking with Ben Porepp. He is a conservation agronomist with the Iowa Soybean Association, and this is part of our latest installment of Between the Pods here on AMPM.
It's time to go between the pods with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and the Iowa Soybean Association. For the next year, we will explore the ways Iowa-grown soybeans are making a difference at home and around the world. Now, here's your host of Between the Pods, Mark Magnuson.
Mark Magnuson with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. We are here for Between the Pods. It is the bi-weekly show where we talk about a different aspect of Iowa soybeans. The Iowa Soybean Association is where we are located today, and I'm here with Ben Porepp. He is a conservation agronomist. Ben, could you tell us how your job works alongside the ISA, with the ISA, what your day-to-day responsibilities are?
Yeah, so as a conservation agronomist, I'm basically tasked with providing technical assistance and being a go-to conservation resource for farmers across Iowa. There's a team of 5 of us, 4 of which are positioned uniquely throughout the state with ag retail locations, so leveraging the relationship that sales agronomists and those retailers have with farmers to help promote the implementation of conservation across the state. I'm kind of a conservation catch-all here out of the Ankeny office, so I work with ag retailers, industry professionals, farmers one-on-one. hooking them up with cost share programs, providing funding opportunities, and then, like I said, being that technical resource for when the implementation of the practice happens to help make sure that the farmer's successful.
So Ben, on a day-to-day, would you say that you're reaching out to farmers more, or are they reaching out to you? Are they coming to you with questions and ideas?
Yeah, the network, as I mentioned, is fairly new. And when I started, it was more me reaching out to farmers. And as the network has really kind of grown and started to gain some traction, we've had a lot of good contact with farmers reaching out to us and saying, hey, we heard about your network. What can you do for me, and how can we make this successful?
Ben, when farmers want to get started, maybe I think all farmers do some conservation practices, some sustainability practices when it comes to their operation. But if they're looking to improve those, what are kind of some of the first areas that you look at then? What are some of the ways that you're thinking, hey, this is where we can make a change right away?
Yeah, the biggest thing is kind of identifying what the farmer wants to get out of their conservation practice. So as you mentioned, a lot of them are already implementing some form of conservation on their farm, but they may not really have a defined reason as to why. So identifying a resource concern, whether it's water quality, are you trying to keep soil in your field, what is your main goal? That's kind of where I like to start, where how can we take this sustainability aspect of my operation to the next level? Well, let's identify what we want to do first, and then kind of go from there and see what fits best.
So what kind of tools do you have, Ben? Do you have some photos to say, hey, this is what happens if you don't use cover crops, you're going to have soil runoff, that type of thing? Is it something that's kind of a way to learn as well?
Yeah, we have all the pictures and we have some of the data from the awesome research we do here, but a lot of it, it's seen on the farmstead. A guy will be like, hey, we just had a windstorm and my soil's blowing all over and my neighbor with cover crops doesn't. Or, hey, we just had a big rain and my neighbor's in 2 days earlier. So, yeah, the pictures and kind of the tools we have, we use quite a bit, but also the farmers are really starting to see the impacts themselves and reaching out with those kind of questions.
Ben, we know that there's different areas of the state that are a little bit more, I guess, leaning towards, if you're close to a watershed, basically, is when you're going to be, I think, very, very particular about your conservation practices, your sustainability side of your operation. But are those the only people that you help out, or can you help out anyone that maybe has a question or wants to improve their farm?
Yeah, our network certainly helps anybody that has a question and wants to implement conservation on their farm. We're not just limited to watersheds. There are priority watersheds where some certain projects are geared, but there's opportunities everywhere, and every farmer is as valuable as everybody. So,
what's some of the initial responses you get from farmers that you work with? Do they say, hey, this is kind of neat. This is something that has really kind of made me feel good about the way that I'm doing things on my farm?
Yeah, lots of good response. A lot of them really care about the environment and kind of those resource concerns we talked about, and maybe just didn't feel comfortable enough, like they didn't know enough or weren't confident enough that they can make it work in their operation. So having that resource to say, we can make this work and this is how it's going to be sustainable on your farm, it's given them a lot of confidence and they're really excited about it.
And Ben, I think farmers definitely get a bad rap from outside perspectives where people think that they maybe only care about the bottom line, or, they're just worried about this current crop. But in farmers that we visit with, at least I'll speak personally, I don't find that to be the case at all. I see farmers thinking about the future because they want to continue to farm. Is that the same kind of responses, the same kind of aspect that you see from these practices helping them?
Yeah, it's definitely, for most of the guys I talk to, it's about protecting their land. We still try to find ways to make these practices profitable. Profitability is a big thing for all farming operations. But that stewardship of the land, keeping it ready for the next generation, we're seeing a lot of young farmers come in and making land investments saying, I want to build this soil so it's successful in the future for when I hand it off to my son or daughter that's coming back. And yeah, certainly they're really into the stewardship of the land more so than just the bottom line.
Ben, is there anything that you're working towards or something that you would like to, include into this? Is there something that you have as a goal for trying to make sure that farmers have all the tools available?
Yeah, just making farmers aware that our network's out there is huge. Like I said, it's a confidence deal. The last thing we want to do is have somebody have a bad experience implementing a conservation practice and then they never want to do it again. So just getting the word out there that you have the resources and the opportunities. There's never been more funding and opportunities and resources than there are now in the conservation field. So just kind of spreading the word that, we're here for you, and it's not just a bottom line deal. We want to make this sustainable because we understand you have land stewardship goals.
And monetarily, are there a lot of ways to help out farmers to kind of cut the cost if they want to make some of these changes?
Yes, more than ever. So whether it's state, federal, private, there's a ton of cost share out there right now. One thing we really do that I found helpful is sit down with the farmer and calculate true ROI. So, we're all shooting for high yields, and research is like, how can we get the most yield out of our ground? Really sitting down and kind of taking an approach of these conservation practices can lower input costs. And yes, your yield might have that huge 20, 30 bushel increase, but a 3 or 4 bushel increase. So kind of that lower input, maybe the steady to a little bit lower yield gain is still more profitable than dumping all these high inputs in, especially with where input costs are right now, to attain that 10, 15 bushel yield increase.
I think all farmers right now are open to efficiency and efficacy when it comes to their operation. So I think you're right on there. Ben, so the obvious question, how can farmers get involved then? If they want some help, they have a question, they want to come to you directly, how can they do so?
Yeah, the network tries to get around to as many field days and events like that as we can. We're always looking for people to reach out to us. Our contact information can be found on the Iowa Soybean Association website. There's an About tab. Click on our team and you'll see the whole network there. Phones, emails, just certainly feel free to reach out to us. We want to work with you guys. Everybody can reach out to us if you have questions, and we're excited that the network is growing and gaining some traction.
Well, we're excited about that for you, Ben, and again, this is a cool side to the Iowa Soybean Association and everything that's done in terms of conservation practices. Ben, is there anything else you'd like to let our audience know about when it comes to what goes into being a conservation agronomist and kind of what you're working towards?
Yeah, just the goal is getting conservation on as many acres in Iowa as we can. I got asked yesterday by a farmer, actually, what's your purpose? What's your end goal of being a conservation agronomist? And that is just that Iowa's farmers can continue to have confidence in the sustainability and the practices that they're implementing on their farms and preparing for the future, whatever that may be. Again, if it's a generational pass down, whatever, we just want to make farmers be confident in what they're doing and make it successful so we can reach our nutrient goals or soil erosion goals or whatever they're set out to do.
He is Ben Porepp. He is a conservation agronomist, and he joins us here today on Between the Pods. Ben, thank you so much for the time. Fun to learn about, and have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You do the same.
That was Ben Porepp, a conservation agronomist with the Iowa Soybean Association. As for right now, let's take a look at the ag weather outlook. Well, in the last few days, we were starting to wonder, will we see snow on the ground in time for Christmas? And here today, we have a little bit of snow, although whether or not that's going to stick around and stay on the ground for the Christmas season, that is yet to be determined. But some snow flurries here in central Iowa today. Had some very light snowfall on the ground earlier this morning. That's going to kind of be the story for the next few days. Snow chances around the state of Iowa here today, snow chances this evening as well, and chances for some more snowfall around the state of Iowa coming up tomorrow. So let's turn our attention now to the National Weather Service and what it has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, we have widespread snow chances across the state today, windy with highs in the upper 20s to mid-30s. Tonight, cloudy and breezy. Snow chances remain for most of the state of Iowa, lows 17 to 25. Looking at tomorrow's forecast, there will be scattered snow chances around the state, and it will be cloudy and windy. And turning our attention to our affiliate weather map for tomorrow's forecast, Cherokee looking to be cloudy with light snow, 22 our high on Friday. Shenandoah cloudy with light snow and a high of 28. Much of the same story in Des Moines for Friday, partly cloudy, light snow, and 24 around the expected high. Albia, partly cloudy, light snow, and 29. A little bit warmer on the eastern portion of the state of Iowa. Waterloo, partly cloudy, light snow, and 28. And Clinton, cloudy with light snow and 30, the expected high. For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of our ag weather outlook. And that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our video content and previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. While you're there, we would ask that you could sign up, subscribe, and then click on the notification bell as well. That way you can get notified whenever we have any new content available on our YouTube channel. And don't forget our free twice daily market podcast, which are available on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.